In this tutorial in Cyberlink PowerDirector, we're going to look at how to customize some of your motion presets that come with PowerDirector. Most commonly, they're applied to video clips and still images, but you do see motion presets elsewhere. In this tutorial, we're going to look at how you can take them, redesign them, and then save them for use either in the same project or another one in the future. We have on the screen a background image, and then we have on track number 2 a baseball. When I play the clip, nothing happens because we have no motion. So let's add one of the customized motion paths and then begin to tweak it. I can click on my picture of the baseball and double click or press the F2 key to get into my pip designer. Once I'm in the pip designer, if I look at the upper left, I have two tabs. One is Properties, the second one is Motion. So if I click on the Motion tab, I find that I have 28 different presets for motion. Each one has a beginning, an end, and then a path that the object will follow. When I click on the preset, it applies it to the object that I'm editing. You notice there are a couple of objects on the screen. There's an inner box, which outlines the object itself, and an outer box, which is the shape of the preset. Now I can take the outer box and I can move it anywhere I want. When I move the mouse over any line, it will turn to a four-headed arrow. I can move it up, down, left, or right simply by clicking and dragging. I can also change the dimensions and the orientation of the box. I can rotate it if I want to, any way I want, and change the shape horizontally and vertically. And so I have lots of variations that I can do with it. Now, if I play this, it will look quite a bit differently than it did before because I've made some modifications. So that's how you can change the container, if you will, of the movement for your object. If I want it to have a very small area on the screen, I can squish it down, and that will change it even more. Let's try this one here. And so we're moving along the lower half of the screen only. So that's one of the ways in which you can begin to modify the motion preset. Notice it does not change the rotation of your object. It doesn't change the size of your object. You do that with different controls. Now there's some other things we may wish to change. Let's apply another one. For example, let's take this one over on the left and apply that. And do I want to change? I'll say save the changes. I'll say no. And now it applies a completely different preset with a different starting point and a different ending point. Again, if I don't want it to end off the screen, I can change the shape of that controls the object. And if we'll play it, it'll go to the left, it'll go to the right, and then it'll go straight down. So every time you apply a different preset, you get a different starting point, ending point, and motion. I'll say, no, I don't want to change it. And so now this one comes down and then will curl to the right. So we have 28 presets. Now, some people look at this and say, well, I really don't like any of them. But I don't want to do a lot of keyframing. So the best you can do is this. What I recommend is you find a preset that's somewhat close to what you want, and then you begin to change it. Let me show you an example. Let's take this diamond one, because here we have a starting keyframe, 3 intermediate keyframes, and an ending keyframe. And let's say I don't want to go in a diamond shape. I want to change that. All I need to do is take my mouse, move it on the line, and now I can change it from a straight line to a curved line. Likewise, I can take any of the keyframes and move them wherever I want, in a straight line or in a curved line. I can change the ending point. I can change the starting point. And we can end it over here and then change this one. Or I say, this one's in the way. what I'm going to do is turn on my lines at the bottom where I have my keyframes. Then I'll navigate to the keyframe I want to change, this one here. I can right click on it and I can say remove it. And now I have one less keyframe to deal with. The other thing I can do if I want to change the speed of motion is I can take any of these keyframes. I'm on the second one now, and if I move it back, it will move closer from point A to point B than it did before. Let's tighten it up quite a bit so you can see the difference. We'll go ahead and preview this. We should start at the beginning. And there it moved really fast because the keyframes were close together, but it still follows the same trajectory we had up here before. And so what I recommend is doing a combination of relying on the keyframes below and the picture as well. So if you want to change this, let's make this inverse. It will come here and then it will curve this way. Let's make the last segment of it faster. Again, to do that, I go back to my keyframe controls and we'll take this one here and we'll move it back so they're closer together. And now we'll go back and play it and watch what happens. We start out fast and it curves slowly from keyframe 2 to keyframe 3. And then it ends quickly. So between modifying the location of the keyframes on the timeline and the number of keyframes you set, and working with the visual tools that you have in the motion control, you can do an awful lot to modify any to make it look exactly like the way you want it to in order to get the result you're looking for. So you don't have to do it all with keyframes, but knowing a little bit about keyframes and a little bit about how to use these visual tools together can make for a pretty interesting result. And when you like something that you've done, all you need to do is click on the icon to the left at the very top. It says Save Modified Motion as a Custom Path. I click on that, and now it just added this to my options. If I click on the down arrow, I can see all the paths, only the custom paths, and this is the only one I have now, or just my default paths, and then I will not see the one I just made. So you can choose which ones will be displayed on the left panel. If you want to delete one that you've done, you simply right-click on it and remove it. You cannot remove any of the default paths that you have in PowerDirector, just the ones that you have created. Again, you can change these an infinite amount of times, so you have a lot of control over customizing your motion controls and redesigning presets to fit your needs in CyberLink PowerDirector.